Louis C.K. is back on Netflix with his new special Ridiculous, and whatever people think about him, that alone makes it a big deal. What stood out to me most was the subject matter. A lot of Ridiculous is about getting older, dealing with aging, looking after elderly parents, and the uncomfortable reality of care homes. It is still Louis C.K., so the jokes are dark, awkward, and sometimes disgusting, but this special felt more emotional than I expected.
I was on an airplane recently and I fell asleep on the plane. I don't like falling asleep on a plane because I don't like waking up on a plane. You know, I don't like waking up. I hate it. I hate waking up. It's the worst feeling known. And you gotta do it I had to do it today. You can't skip a day. It's so unfair that every day starts with just
All the older people are gonna get that. I remember Louis C.K. actually had a joke about this, how sometimes you wake up, it's almost like inserting the disc of depression. You know what I mean? Because when you're dreaming, you're free. It's like essentially your mind is free to do whatever it wants, you know. But then you wake up and it's like reinserting that disc of depression. You know, there's a difference between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. And once you wake up, that conscious mind just reawakens, and you have to deal with all the stresses of day-to-day life. That sometimes happens to me. So that's a very relatable joke. That's one thing about Louis C.K. He makes a lot of relatable jokes that you're only really going to get if you've lived life a bit. His target demographic isn't really the younger crowd. It's more like people like me, like in the late 20s, 30s, and 40s and upwards. You know what I mean? Younger kids are not really going to get his jokes. This is a very specific joke. You have to be a certain age to get this joke.
Louis has always been good at dark humor. He has always been able to say the thing people are thinking but do not want to admit. That is one of the reasons people connected with him in the first place. But in this special, the darkness feels a bit different. It does not feel like he is only trying to be shocking. A lot of the jokes feel like they are coming from a real place. You can tell he is thinking about age more now. He's thinking about his parents getting older. He's thinking about what happens when people lose their independence. He's thinking about the weird, sad, frustrating parts of life that people do not always talk about. That is where the special worked best for me.
Yeah, my dad's 89 and he's in a home now. He's in a home. You know what that means, right? There's a pink plastic water pitcher in the room. You know what I mean? Yeah. The brochure says, like, you don't want to look at your father, but you can't kill him. So bring him here and we guarantee that he will die legally. Not from neglect, but from despair. Your father will die alone in a room with a Jamaican person standing over the bed, saying, "Oh, that's a sham."
And that's the reality. That's the reality that a lot of individuals go through with their elderly parents. If you're not willing to take care of them, you're going to put them in homes and they're going to be looked after by individuals who are foreign to the country. You know, so that's the interesting thing about, you know, this whole immigration debate. A lot of people, both in the United States of America and the UK, they don't want immigrants. But the reality is immigrants that are looking after your elderly parents. You do realize that. Well, you don't realize that because you've never worked in the care industry. I've worked in the care industry, so I see what's happening. And, you know, your elderly parents and your elderly in-laws and relatives are being cared by black and brown people. You know, I'm just being honest. If you literally try to get rid of the whole immigration thing, you stop them from coming into the country, who's going to look after your parents? Because the fact of the matter is, you don't want to do it. A lot of American nationals don't want to do it. A lot of British nationals don't want to do it. So who's going to do it? It's a hard job. It's a tedious job. At times it can be a pretty, you know, icky job. I'm just being fair. I've done it. I've experienced it. You know what I mean? And you need to have a certain kind of a mental fortitude to do it. it's not just a physical job, it's a mental job, because now you have to deal with not just the individual that may be experiencing dementia, they may be experiencing all sorts of mental issues and physical issues. You have to deal with that, but you also have to deal with their relatives. Their family members are dealing with the emotional stuff that comes with having to deal with their parent declining. You know what I mean? There's so much to it. It's not just the individual that's in the care home, it's their family members. They are dealing with it. They are dealing with the emotionality of it. So this is what people need to think about before you decide to like scream at all the immigrants that are coming into the country. Realize that they are having to do this job.
The care home material was funny, but it also had a sadness underneath it. Everyone knows getting old is scary, but people usually talk about it in a soft, polite way. Louis does the opposite. He talks about the ugly side of it. He talks about how awkward, depressing, and ridiculous it can be. Somehow, he still finds a way to make it funny. That is probably why this special feels more mature than some of his older work. It is not mature in the sense that he has cleaned himself up or become less offensive. He is still crude. He is still uncomfortable. He is still Louis C.K. But the topics feel older. The jokes feel like they are aimed at people who have lived a little bit. If you have dealt with aging parents, hospitals, family responsibility, guilt, or the fear of getting older yourself, then some of the jokes will probably hit harder.
So that's what this lady looked like. She looked like a giant dead baby bird in a wheelchair. And I noticed her because she was going like this. She was going like. And when she sees me, she goes, "Oh, help me." And I said, "What?" And she said, "Please help me." I was like, "Fuck you. This can't be on me. Who the fuck works here?" So I started looking around for somebody, and then I see a guy, he's got like a white jacket, and he's on a computer. So I go, "Hey, sir, yeah, this lady needs help." And the guy goes like this. Just like that.
You know, he's telling jokes, but I'm telling you, as someone who's worked in social care, like I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things. Look, if you could afford it, if you're making good money, you should care for your parents. You should care for your elder relatives. You know, or maybe getting some live-in carers that are properly vetted. That's what I recommend, because you have to remember, like I said before, a lot of the people who work in these care homes are immigrants, whether they're African or Asian or whatever, they're immigrants, right? And they, you know, they're just trying to make money so they can send money back to their families and try and improve their standard of living. That's what they're trying to do. For a lot of them, it is a check. And while some of them do have a lot of empathy, a lot of them are just normal, average, everyday citizens. You gotta realize that when you decide to take your parents, you decide to basically offload your elderly parents onto these, you know, care homes and whatnot. You have to realize that, you know, the type of people that are gonna be looking after them are just kind of doing it for the check. You know what I mean? So you need to be very careful. Like Louis C.K. he's not even lying. Like he's not even lying. This is not even a joke. This is the reality. This is the reality of you know, the Western world. You know what I mean? In other cultures, your elderly parents, your elderly relatives are kept at home, and the whole family looks after them. Unfortunately, we have this thing in the Western world where, you know, if they're elderly, they can't really figure out things for themselves. You know, maybe they have dementia, early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, all of that stuff. Then they can't really care for themselves. The fact of the matter is a strain. It's a massive strain on family members. But you need to remember, there is a compromise. There is a price that needs to be paid. You take them to these care homes, and if they're not good care homes, just realize that, like, a lot of these people that are working with your, you know, elderly parents, they might not be great at their job. You know, there might be times when, you know, your parents are screaming, and these individuals, these these care workers are not even fully really helping, because the fact of the matter is there are loads of people who need help in these care homes. And then you have to think about, these individuals, these patients, they're suffering from a wide range of different things. And like dementia is very hard to actually deal with. Because I remember at one point in time, I was dealing with a patient who had dementia, and, I'm trying to figure out what is the best medication to give to this individual. And so I'm talking to the GP, and I'm basically saying, well, this individual, this patient, like he seems to be better when you don't give him all of this medication, because when you give him all of this medication, he essentially turns into a robot. So I'm telling this to the GP, and the GP is saying, okay, right now, just stop giving him this certain pill. So I stopped giving this guy the certain pill. But then what I didn't realize is that once I stopped giving him this certain pill, the dementia went like, the dementia went to like 100-fold, like 200-fold. Now the patient is running up and down the house, like there's pee everywhere. It is so hard to deal with, elderly people who are suffering, and especially suffering from like mental things, mental afflictions, mental diseases. It is so difficult. It is so difficult. So yeah, man, it's like, this is not even a joke. What Louis C.K. is saying is real. Like, care workers get tired, they become jaded, and sometimes that jadedness turns into anger and like frustration. And instead of them channeling that anger and frustration into something positive, sometimes they turn it inwards. And by that, I mean they start doing their job in a very, very terrible way. Guys, this is the reality of the Western world. I'm telling you, it's sad out there. Most people don't realize what's going on behind the scenes because no one wants to work in these industries. Those jobs that you turn away from and you close your eyes and pretend they don't exist, like...
I see a guy, he's got like a white jacket and he's on a computer. So I go, hey, sir, yeah, this lady needs help. And the guy goes like this. Just like that. It's like I said, hey, I'm going to Starbucks. Do you need something from Starbucks? Yeah.
This is not really a special built around easy laughs. A lot of it is about painful things that people recognize from real life. That does not mean the special is amazing from start to finish. Some jokes are stronger than others. Some parts are more interesting than they are hilarious. I would not say this is Louis C.K. at his absolute best, and I do not think it reaches the level of his classic specials. But I do think it shows where he is in life now. He is older. His audience is older. The things he is angry about are different. The things he finds funny are different. He is no longer only talking about parenting, sex, shame, and everyday frustration. Now he is talking about aging, death, parents, care homes, and the fear of becoming a burden. That gives the special a different feeling. Of course, the cancellation conversation will still follow him. Some people will not want to watch him, and that is their right. Other people will watch the special and judge it as comedy. But either way, Netflix putting him back on the platform is a big moment. For me, Ridiculous was a solid return. It was not perfect, and it was not the funniest special he has ever made, but it was honest, dark, and surprisingly poignant. It felt like Louis C.K. entering a new stage of his life and using comedy to deal with the frustration of getting older. Overall, I would give it a 7 out of 10. It is nice to see Louis back in his element again. The special is funny, but what makes it interesting is the sadness underneath the jokes. He's still making people laugh at horrible thoughts, but this time, those thoughts feel closer to real life.